I've been drinking water for some time, picking up the parts of all my lies. Didn't get to solve it this time. How am I to break apart? Don't tell me why we can't collide. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on. I've been seeing farther in dark skies, bringing with the fire, not for time. Following my heart, can't deny. Show you how I play no part. Ghosts in the night don't justify the love we lost, the love we hide. Don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? On the break of dawn, I follow you to carry on. On the break of dawn, I'll follow you to carry on.
Welcome to the LXC.
Down in the ramp again, where champions ascend. Warden league lights the night, diamond dreams burn bright. Tournament's heart beats fast, LXC is here at last. Amateurs with skill to prove, in this battle groove. Diamond rank, shining pure, victory is near for sure. In the LXC.
It's going to be very scary, right? Epitome's doing a lot of damage in return. Sourcewalker is
here it
going
is.
in. He's trying to buy enough spaces. He's going to get that ultimate out. But we see it's going to be enough good. Hostile takeover there. Kawota is doing damage on return. The Death Ray is coming out. Sourcewalker is the first to get the kill onto the jungler. That might be the play. As Epitome's able to pick up the kill. There's so much damage, so much return as they heal. It's massive. For Kawota to avoid the damage. Sourcewalker is going in. He's kind of by himself, but he's doing a lot of damage. He has the healing from Panda. And we see Back for Mercy is trying to buy enough space on the scene, but Buckeyes is on a rampage. This could be what they need to get back into this, but Ren is buying so much space. He's so tanky, even though they have the armor shred. As Epitome is able to get the kill right on the edge onto St. Alucard. It ends up being a 4 versus 2. Coming out from Varus. Buckeyes is doing a lot of damage. Merc is the one who ends up picking up the kill. The Braum ultimate does come down. Panda doing a good job of sidestepping it. But we see the charm lands. Olaf, he's going in. He's trying to find the angle now. We see a massive double bubble land. It's going to be enough. They pick up the kill onto the shutdown. Olaf's actually doing a lot of damage here. St. Alucard kiting back into the Epitome ulti. The egg is there, but it's not going to be enough. Give the kill to Olaf if you can. Find him the angles that give him the kill. That's what they needed to get back into this, Righteous.
2 shutdowns going over to Olaf, which up until that point was so effective.
So hard here for the members of DNL to go for this. Jax picks up the kill, and I think they're going to try to fight it out. Sourcewalker finds the angle onto Buckeyes. He gets the jump, he gets the stun, but he's falling right into St. Alucard's trap. St. Alucard is doing damage just for free. Sourcewalker flashes over and is able to get Buckeyes, but looking at it, it's the bird. The bird does have egg, forced to flash away, but the stun lands. The Conqueror is done. He's speeded up. The flash, the team, the egg is going to be popped, but it's going to be popped once again. The egg is scrambled.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Season 2 of the League of Extraordinary Champions. We are closing out our second week of competition with another look at the Warden League. Tonight's action features defending champs Dorado Gaming Shy versus No Direction in a best of 3. NOD were able to pick up a 2-0 victory over the Yakima Scimitars in week number 1, whereas Dorado Gaming did go down 1-2 at the hands of ID Ignite. So DOG badly need a win tonight if they don't want to avoid an early slide down towards the bottom of the standings, somewhere we certainly were not expecting to find them. My name is Crewman44. I'm incredibly excited to be here for my first ever LXC cast, and I am fortunate enough to be joined by the Regal Righteous to welcome me. How you doing tonight, sir?
I like that, Regal Righteous. I'm doing great. I'm excited. I'm excited that I get to be here with you for your first cast, and I'm excited for these games. I'm ready to jump into draft.
Yeah, just a quick aside. I do always like to introduce my co-casters with an alliterative adjective in front of their name. And the fact that your name is also an adjective does make that a little bit awkward, but I think I pulled it off all right this
It was
time.
good. It was good. Yeah, you're talking about Dorado dropping their first week of games to ID Ignite. Not what we expected, and it's gonna be an uphill battle from here as New Origins has been off to a hot start. That 2-0 victory. I don't know if Dorado goes down 0-2. I mean, that's an upset of room, but of course they didn't have the greatest of regular seasons last year as well. So maybe this is all just part of the plan.
Yeah, it's the magic doesn't really spark until we get later on in the season, perhaps for Dorado. We'll have to wait and see. But if I recall correctly, Righteous, we actually did have, unfortunately, some players missing this evening. I believe there are some emergency substitutions on the Rift
Mm-hmm.
tonight. Is that correct?
I believe so, though I don't know. Oh, so they're counting as e-subs. But they didn't get their games in, is what we were being told. So everybody's here
Right, right.
that should be
Okay.
here. There's a penalty just for the required games. But draft is now live. Dorado on blue, New Origins on red. I don't know. I don't know if you watched the games last week. We had a lane swap. We had some crazy
That's
drafts. So I'm excited. But of course, Dorado having to miss the first phase bans definitely gonna hurt them.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Not fearless here in the LXC, right? So, at least there is that for Dorado, where if they are going to be able to get their hands on a couple of maybe their favorite picks for multiple games tonight, that is certainly a possibility. Might have to lean on that potentially, given the fact that they do not have access to those bans. We'll just have to wait and see how the draft does kind of end up breaking down. But what do you feel like is really strong right now, Righteous? I mean, I think we have been sitting on this current patch, on the second patch for a little over
Hmm.
a week now, right? So
Yeah.
what are you feeling like are really the picks to watch at the moment?
I think the meta's at a really good spot right now where I don't think anything's like overtly OP. Of course, Garner Prio and Pro has been relatively key. We've seen some, takeaways here and there. The MF was looking strong for a while. Did get a little bit of a nerf this latest patch cycle. Looking at the bans from New Origins, though, Cherry's Gwen Cherry, jungler who very proactive and knows how to play uh, a diverse cast of champions. Gwen being one of them taken away, and then that strong overall pick Aurora and the Wukong as well going to be taken away from
Hmm.
Dorado Gaming Chi.
Yeah, so a little bit of a focus towards Cherry there, it seems, in
Yeah.
the initial ban phase. Definitely, yeah, the Gwen and the Wukong seem to be a couple of her most played junglers, at least for this season so far. Interesting to see what she does decide to go for this first game. There is that misfortune, right, just that you were
Hmm.
just mentioning. It's going to get snapped up on the B1.
Yeah, Misfortune right now, in a pretty good spot. The lethality build isn't completely dead, but the crit build is making a comeback into the regular build rotation. So a little bit of flexibility with that MF pick can go either or depending on what New Origins shows against Dorado. Zeri going to be the answer. Zeri quickly rising up in priority. A champion that when is meta, you either love or you hate.
I think most people probably hate, if I had to guess there, if
Yeah.
we're, talking statistics here. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how the Zeri matches up against the Misfortune. Should have a probably, I would imagine, a weaker laning phase, right? But maybe a little bit of a higher ceiling for those team fights as we move into the mid game. Which makes the Nocturne pairing alongside the Zeri very interesting to me, Righteous. I feel like Nocturne is a champion that, really thrives, of course, when the team wants to play towards side lanes, right? And looking to kind of pick off these
Yeah.
isolated targets, which is not necessarily where the Zeri flourishes.
Yeah, not necessarily. And then Dorado with a nice answer, taking away the Galio pairing away from that Nocturne, like you're saying. Really easily able to catch out champions with that Galio Nocturne. So gonna break up that pairing. And you're right. For New Origins direction comp, Zeri usually likes to play back, and the teams want to go forward. Nocturne wants to go forward, so I see a little bit of a separation and identity there, but we'll have to see how they round out the rest of the comp. I'm not too worried so far. But this Vi, a pro pick staple so far. It's been hit or miss in terms of actually, being viable and looking good.
Haha, good one.
Yeah. There you go. So we'll have to see, but a really strong pairing with the Galio. Galio ult with Vi, and then the Misfortune over the top, really strong into that Zeri.
Definitely can be. Yeah, a lot of wombo potential already getting put together here for DOG Shy. The Vi, a pro staple like you mentioned. It's also I used to be a Vi one trick back in the day. So for my
Okay.
first cast here as well, I feel like the Vi is very appropriate, right? So I really do appreciate that from Sherry. I'm sure that was meant to be a shout out for me, is
Yeah,
why she
for
locked in.
sure.
Certain, I don't know why else. So definitely appreciate that one. Good looks. But the Braum answer I do think is really great there for New Origin. New Origin, right? Is the acronym
Yes,
for NO,
New
New Origin
Origin.
Direction. I think the Brahm's great. It's obviously a great answer into the Misfortune, being able to mitigate a lot of that bullet time.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Vi as well. I feel like that's not something you necessarily normally think of as Braum being an answer into the Vi. But if the Vi is diving forward towards that backline, if Braum can kind of position himself, in front of between Vi basically and the rest of her team, he can make it really difficult for them to follow up on those sorts of engages.
Yeah, and he enables the rest of his team to really pick off that Vi almost immediately with that Braum passive if Vi goes too far forward. Could be easy pickings for direction on the red side. But I am a little bit worried. There's no go-in pairing with the Nocturne so far. Of course, there's 2 picks left for New Origins, but so far the bottom lane just wants to play back. This Nocturne doesn't have a go buddy. That is a little scary for me.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. The Nocturne is another interesting pick. You were kind of talking about the variety and the Misfortune builds earlier. Nocturne rather is another one of those champions where he
Hmm.
does have a couple of different builds you can go towards at the moment. In pro, more commonly, we've been seeing sort of almost like a bruisery Nocturne where he builds like health items like Sterex even can come through sometimes. He can almost act as like a pseudo frontline. So maybe, they really just wanted to pick Nocturne away from Cherry and they're just going to kind of like make it work in their draft. We'll have to wait and see. There's the Gnar is going to get picked up blind in the top lane for NOD. And I'll see what.
Yeah, for sure. Am really liking what Dorado's put together. You know, in response to NOD, despite having no bans available for themselves. A lot of going options into this area. Of course, Braum going to make that hard, but if you get past the Braum, or if Braum isn't effectively able to do his job, there's not a lot separating the Zeri from the rest of DOGC, Rel. I mean, look at that comp. You just want to go and press R and
Yeah,
win team
yeah.
fights.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's really threatening what DOG have put together over here. There is maybe something to be said for the fact that, if a composition like this falls behind,
Hmm.
it can really struggle, right? If you're engaging to start a fight that you can't win, not the greatest, right?
Yeah.
And Misfortune is really only the only ranged damage dealer on this team. So, if it falls apart for DOG, it could fall apart in a pretty spectacular way. But I definitely feel like overall, I mean, the comp is so easy to execute. It's so clear what they're going to want to try to do. Should be very straightforward to all be on the same page. Just choose a target basically, and like you
Yeah.
said, everybody just press their buttons. Whereas for
Yeah.
NOD, their comp seems much more difficult to execute.
It does, but then at the same time, the more I look at it, it doesn't, right? They're really gonna look to prey upon either an overextended Vi or a Yone caught on side lane. I think Lissandra, at this point is just a better Malzahar than Malzahar is. Has so much setup for the Nocturne with the ultimate. Can also play back like this Brahmin Zeri want to as well. So they have a good mix of, some playmaking tools with the Gnar, with the Nocturne and Lissandra, as well as some peel, opportunities into the Dorado comp that is shown. So, to your point, if Dorado gets behind, it could be scary trying to, break through a Braum shield, get past the Lissandra, deal with a Gnar and a Zeri that are going to be putting out, good amounts of damage. At the same time, you know, if this team, either team really goes even, into the later stages of the game, there's scaling on both sides, there's team fight action on both sides. It's just looking like it's gonna be like a brawl to the death for this game one victory.
Exactly what we like to see.
For sure.
Right? It couldn't ask for about this Yone sauce. So the Yone, most likely going into the top lane. There is some flex potential there between the Yone and the Galio, where they both could kind of go into either solo lane. But it looks like Peels is the Yone player for DOG. 9 games so far this season, 56% win rate. And I feel like that should be a pretty good matchup into the Gnar, right?
Yeah, it'll be a better matchup into the Gnar than the Lissandra. I will say this Gnar, I'm a big fan of Gnar into Yone. If Gnar is able to go even until, the item component, it's really hard for Yone to stick on this champion with the jump away available for Gnar. Could be frustrating if Peels plays a little bit too aggressively in the early game. Could spell their doom, but as we all know, Yone scales incredibly well. Once you get 1 or 2 items, put him on the side lane, he'll have no problem dealing with that Nard. Lissandra, on the other hand, though, looking at Dorado's comp, doesn't have a lot of range outside of that misfortune, and so I'm a little worried about the navigation of Dorado's team fight, right? Because if you're looking at it, you're trying to go past Lissandra that has the W, that has the ultimate. You're trying to go past a Braum that has the shield, the Q, the ultimate. This Zeri, is a champion that everybody knows is really hard to stick to. So I really like New Origin's direction for this draft. They've put together, great answers into what Dorado's showing. Now it's gonna be up to Dorado to really win the early game. Otherwise, once we get those mid to late game stages, I think Direction's gonna have the advantage there.
Yeah, I guess I would have to agree. If, we do get to a mid or later stage of the game where both of these teams are still pretty even and there's not a huge advantage, for the side of DOG, then there probably would be a little bit of an edge here for the side of NOD with this draft. I think you've sold me here, Righteous. I do still think that there's a lot of space for this composition for New Origin to fall on its face, though, in the early game. Particularly if Cherry can get active early and try and snowball one of these lanes. As soon as this DOG comp gets ahead, I feel like they should really have the run of the map. But even with a lead, I really like some of those points you were making about the Lissandra, being really good against dive, and the Braum obviously as well. They are definitely going to have to choose their moments very carefully for the side of Dorado.
Yeah, if Dorado gets ahead and they have vision control, able to play on the enemy side of the jungle, it's going to be really hard for New Origins to really ever step up into their own side of the map. Playing around the vision control, Galio, Vi, such great playmakers when paired with the rail. Yone misfortune damage is going to be tough to deal with for any comp if they're behind. So I would look for Dorado to try to be more proactive on the map early. It's really New Origins Direction's early game to lose. If they're able to navigate it safely, let the Zeri scale up, let the Nocturne hit level 6 and start to unlock some plays that way, then we'll see how both of these comps want to interact. But, regardless, I'm excited for this game. Dorado not having the season start that they wanted to have, New Origins coming onto the scene, and playing very well. So both of these teams really want to get this win.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the next logical kind of direction for our conversation to go from here, we are just talking about how Dorado probably need that early game advantage, right? They're going to be looking to make something happen early on to try to get ahead of this, more scaling oriented draft for the side of NOD. So how do you think that's going to play out? Like, where should the side of Dorado be looking early to try to get those advantages?
I'm not sure, but my bold prediction is that New Origin's gonna institute a lane swap, get the Zeri Braum out of the
Ooh,
Misfortune Rail lane
okay.
for the early parts of the game. That's my bold prediction for the early game to try to throw Dorado off their game. With that being said, though, I think we're ready for a break. Next time you see us, we'll be back on the Rift.
I feel the gravity pull and it keeps me away. I would rather be here, lonely in space. I've made up my mind, I just wanna be free. I live my own life in a new galaxy. I wanna be weightless in the silence of the night sky. I wanna free fall into nothing at all. I'm taking the moment, starting all over. Wanna be free and live my own life in a new galaxy. And live my own life in a new galaxy.
All right, everybody, welcome on to Summoner's Rift for our first game of the night. Dorado Gaming Shy on the blue side, New Origin Direction on the red. And this is a very funny start that we have, Righteous.
Yeah, the double invade on opposite sides of the map. You literally cannot get any further from each other than what you see on this screen. So I don't expect anybody going to be found out with these invades. However, New Origins Direction able to get more information from their invade than the side of Dorado.
True. Yeah, and somebody has got the, I guess that's Forest on the Nocturne, has the Deep Ward rune, where his ward there has an extra little health bar on it.
Yeah,
Very
and I
cool.
think it actually makes it last longer. So an early ward there.
I believe so.
Gonna give plenty of vision for this early game. Should be noted that these junglers will be on opposite side rotations for their first set of camps. So we'll have to see how this Vi is gonna approach the top side. Plenty of setup for a potential gank on an R, but Mocha.
A little bit of skirmishing at the level 1 mark in the bottom lane. Mocha is going to get concussed with all those blows coming through. The Rel down to about 200 HP. Potion ticking. Re-engages with the W. Immediately has to flash away. But Braum also going down extremely low. Beiwa moving forward. That's going to be the Braum flash out to stay alive. Cuddle Bear now trying to make this first blood happen. But the flip back forces out the summoners from the Zarya. Now Beiwa just needs a little bit more. Not quite going to be able to find it just yet. But that is every single summoner down for the NOD bot duo.
Yeah, if I'm Beiwa there, I'm 100% flashing just to try to pick up the kill. But playing smart, knowing that the misfortune can be vulnerable, especially Mocha now, without either summoner spell. But you were right. I fully expected this MF Rel to have Prio. Maybe the lane swap that I was talking about wasn't that bad of an idea. Just
yeah. I thought it was a pretty good idea, but now a little bit of a move towards mid lane. Mocha, not quite enough range on the Lance there. Just needed a little bit more. But Andromeda able to get back underneath the turret.
Yeah. Andromeda, great use of the Lysandra W. Definitely knows how to pilot the champion. So we'll have to see. Could spell a lot of displeasure for Dorado into a 4 melee comp, but it's too early to tell right now.
Sure. There are a couple of really interesting rune choices that I really wanted to discuss a little bit if we have the time, Righteous. We've got the Aftershock on Alternatives Galio here, so it is going to be probably just a straight tank build for the Galio, which does mean they're very, very light on magic damage for the side of Dorado. And also we have the lethal tempo on the Nocturne, which I do really quite like.
Yeah, kind of a more solo queue build, I would say, for the Nocturne. Typically in comp, you see the Conqueror coming through just to give you a little bit more beef. Interesting to know.
The flash over the wall, no thumbs for Cuddle Bear is Zeri. So skates over the wall there and is going to be reunited with her support.
Yeah, great play by Mocha. Unfortunately, Zeri did Zeri things, got on out of there, even without the summoner spells. I did want to say, though, alternative opting not to take the TP on Galio instead with the Ghost to try to deal with the potential peel between Braum and Lysandra. So we'll have to see if it really pays dividends. As Cherry is here in mid lane.
Yeah, she sure is. Forest also there.
Yep.
Get that wave shoved out for the side of NOD. A reset for Andromeda. First Dragon is going to be alive in about 30 seconds. Looks like, is that going to be an Infernal to start us off?
Infernal's always going to pick up, especially when you're the early game comp in Dorado. So we'll have to see if Dragon is their prio. Of course, the Cherry is on that bottom side of the map. So looks like that's going to be the case.
And Vi does love taking dragons. She's very good at it.
She is very good at it. Will be interesting. Beiwa still has both the summoner spells, Cuddle Bear. Barrier just about does tick over, but won't have that flash, so the playmaking potential is there for Cherry and Mocha to try to punish the Zeri, but we've already seen how difficult it is to actually do that.
Indeed. Aaliyah stun comes through onto the Braum. W does come down the crash on, but Cuddlebear able to dash away from it. Rescue jumping back towards the Zeri to try to stay alive, but one more auto attack coming out from the Misfortune will secure the first blood for Dorado.
Yeah, they said, we tried to all in the Zeri and it didn't work, so let's just do that to the Braum instead. Gonna be a lot easier to lock down. So first blood secured for Dorado. Interesting that they don't decide to start up the dragon. The wave's not quite there for them, so playing patiently, always good to see.
Absolutely. We do see the Nocturne getting a little bit of counter jungling done. Obviously had information that the Vi was in the bottom lane, so it's going to be able to steal away her topside camps. And does have about a 1 camp lead at the moment in that individual jungle matchup.
Almost to be careful here. Ooh. Q just goes wide from Mocha, but you're right. Nocturne picking up a small individual advantage with that invade. Ping's coming out onto the grubs as well. Nocturne with the passive. Able to make quick work of those. So it's just going to be a trade of neutrals here. We're so accustomed to seeing.
Indeed.
But I do think this might favor New Origins directions. I want to say New Orleans all the time. Only because...
Oh, no, now I'm going to say it too.
Yeah, I know. Only because if you look at the comp from Dorado, they're definitely the ones that want to have the side lane pressure. Grubs, of course, does unlock that for you. So taking those away, the scaling comp of Cuddlebear, Andromeda on the Zeri, and Lysandra, you're gonna be able to contest the future Drakes.
Very true. Very true. At the same time, though, I do feel like Dorado are probably pretty satisfied with their prize of that initial dragon. You know, as we already discussed, the Infernal Dragon can be really great for an early game comp like this.
Yeah, of course. I'll never say no to Infernal, but I think all I was saying was that New Origins was making the right play and not trying to contest too early with those scaling champions, as we see Valka trading aggressively in appeals, trying to crash that wave, unable to do so.
Top laner's been relatively quiet so far. Seems like, the Gnar does have a little bit of a CS lead. As you were talking about in the draft, you actually do kind of like the Gnar side of this matchup, right? Just the fact that you're able to kind of space the Yone during the laning phase. That does seem like it's working out for Valka pretty well so far. Oh, another crash down from Mocha. Rescued, puts up the shield, but is going to get clipped by the Vault Breaker. Bullet time comes out, and the door is on cooldown. Baywa 2-0.
Baywa 2-0. Cherry. Great jungler from last season, showing that they're equally as aggressive, ulting forward.
Underneath the turret, the Galio in there for the follow-up. Cherry flashes out from underneath the turret to get away from the ramped-up damage, and the cleanly executed dive from the side of Dorado gets them the first feed as well.
This is exactly what Dorado needed, right? This early game comp that we were talking about, if they weren't able to carve out a lead, would have been a little scary for them going over into the mid game, but 2-0 on Baywa on this misfortune. Galio being able to pick up the kill from Cherry's ultimate as well. And Cherry's just the more active jungler on the map thus far in the game.
100%. It can be really difficult for Nocturne to be active early, but Forest has the paranoia now. So I didn't quite see where the Nocturne was, during that last play in the bot lane that we just saw. But certainly would like to see the Nocturne utilize that ultimate ability in the near future.
Yeah, looking at the gold lead, it's really only about 700 that separates these two teams. And for the comp that has Zeri, that's not an insurmountable gold lead. Forest able to pick up about a level lead as well.
Okay, there it is. Forest into the mid lane, but Rel is here to answer. The spell shield is going to deny the stun. Andromeda, glacial path forward. Mocha still only level 5. Re-engages with a crash out, and Cherry is there for the follow-up. Forest flashes away, stays alive just barely. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Baywa left on his lonesome. Can be able to stay alive for now in the 1v2.
Yeah, just not enough damage between Andromeda and Forest to pick up that kill. Galio, of course, pretty tanky. You're looking at an early, the opposite of Sunfire, the MR one. I can't think of the name right now.
I believe.
Spectre's Cowl, yeah. But a good swing and a good miss for Forest and Andromeda. But you're seeing the power of the Lysandra Nocturne already. I'm assuming that they're going to be able to make some picks happen eventually.
Bullet time just to clear the wave there for Baywa. Low HP, I guess. Needed the timing there for the reset to come through. Misfortune probably has her first item here. Looking for Bloodthirster? Not quite. Not quite. Still, what's the completion price on the Bloodthirster? Do you know?
3,300, I think.
Well, but like if you have all the components, like how much does it cost to put them together?
Oh, yeah. You're asking the wrong
All
person.
good,
I
all
don't know.
good.
I'm not good with money,
That was
man.
a tough one.
I
Maybe
buy things when I can afford them.
Maybe our producer knows. He's a numbers guy.
Yeah,
Nah, it's
maybe.
alright.
We'll see.
We
But
do
looking
have,
at
go
looking at
ahead.
this top side of the map, everybody's approaching from both sides of the rift.
First grub secured. Ball breaker getting channeled. Cherry going in there, but the counter engage onto the backline from the Lissandra
Ooh.
goes into the ultimate to buy a whole bunch of time. The guy ultimate over the top gets knockups onto a couple, but it's Cherry who's going to go down first. The Yone ultimate. Peels gets in there, finds two.
Cherry's
With the fake
here.
kill with the health bars, they're not going down. Finally, they managed to take down the Braum, but now the Yone forced to snap back, and it is going to be a team fight win for NOD. Peels trying to get back underneath the turret, slowed down by the boomerang. Couple more autos.
Ooh.
The shield from the W. Peels trying to stay alive in the turret. Oh, it doesn't quite come through with the last shot. Valka will survive. And it will be NOD who pick up the grubs.
The difference between that team fight was Cuddle Bear sacking, about 2 waves to get up there to secure 6 grubs for their team. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Bewa didn't make the trek up to top. The lead is only getting bigger between this MF and Zeri. Of course, Zeri does scale, but at some point, a big gold lead will always be scary.
Absolutely. Well, this is looking like it's probably going to be the second dragon is going to go over to Dorado. So it's going to be the 6 grubs versus the 2 dragons is the neutral situation at the moment. Does mean, I believe, that the teams are tied for that monster hunting feat, right? Both sides should be at 2, I believe.
Yep. The 6 grubs, of course. You got to secure 3 to get an epic, as we see flash forward from
engage
Mocha.
from Mocha. Yeah, the Crashdown does get the CC onto 2 as well, and nicely done from Baywa. Again, waiting until the Unbreakable goes down, but Forrest with the counter gank does get the better of Cherry there. They take down the Vi. On the other side of the map, though, it is going to be a shutdown going over to Peels as they find Andromeda in the jungle.
Yeah, I found Andromeda. Peels making their way on down from top lane, excuse me, as Braum ultimate used just to
Glacial Fisher there, but the health bars are so low. There's Baywa flashing in. Oh, almost took an extra turret shot there. Look at that health bar on Cuddle Bear. That's gonna be almost single-digit HP for the Zeri, who's gonna have to back it all the way up, trying to get away from this Galio right now, who made the roam down, rescued, trying to body block for the AD carry alternative. That was a little bit scary, but the Galio is speedy enough to get away.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Cuddle Bear, Rescued, and Forrest were doing. They got the team fight win with the counter gank, the skirmish win, I should say. And then they just stuck around too long. It results in a tower going down. It's going to be first tower, so it's going to come down to this next epic monster for feats of strength.
Yeah, next spawn of neutral is going to be the Rift Herald in a couple of minutes. So we'll see if the teams are going to really prioritize that highly to try to get those super special boots. Ballbreaker connect there for Cherry, but the Lissandra ultimate comes out in response. The Paranoia is going to seal the Vi's fate. Cherry really thought she had a window there, but forgot about the Nocturne.
Yeah, and this Nocturne just quietly 30 CS up on Cherry now. While Cherry was playing for her team, Nocturne has been carving out a nice lead for himself, so very scary is this Nocturne. Going to turn out the lights and make people have a bad, spooky time. We saw that pairing with Andromeda as well. Cherry really thought she had enough damage, played, hindsight's 2020, but played a little bit too aggressive and to Andromeda. It does die in the process.
The Vi was 2 levels down there, so I of course I can appreciate the fact that she thought she had the damage, but it was an ambitious play.
Now, I think I'm mistaken, but how are the feats on blue side already?
Oh, they already have their feet. Oh, you're right.
Is that a bug?
Oh,
Maybe
I guess because
bug.
they must have gotten the first 3 kills, right?
Oh,
so they
yeah,
got the first 3 kills in the first turret, and that's
the first
the
turret. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. So a nice little
There you have it.
win for the early game comp. Of course, feats of triumph don't really give too much.
Oh, Glacial Path going to be denied there by the taunt from Alternative. But the Tank Galio just does not quite have the sticking power to actually kill off the Lissandra there.
No, but a ton of damage coming out from a Tank Galio. So
Yeah.
good to see that Alternative knows the limits of that champion. It will be interesting to see as we get into the mid game here, the lane assignments from Dorado with Alternative not having that teleport available. Gonna have to be a little bit more proactive on the map rotations just to get it in position to ult. Meanwhile, for New Origins directions, has both TPs, of course, Valka using it to get up on top side already. But a little bit easier of a time looking for a snap engage.
Certainly. So we just saw there Dorado thinking about a Herald start, but not actually having enough control over the area to commit to that one.
Ares is spending a lot of time.
Yeah.
Does show face. Force on the top side. Gonna play for the top tower. Andromeda going in.
There's the engage from Andromeda. The Galio ultimate over the top. Baywa staying alive for now. Misfortune builds up the range, gets space to cast the bullet time. And this is looking real nice for Dorado. The Vault Breaker back. Cuddle Bear flashes away underneath the turret, trying to stay alive. Mocha, the last turret shot will come through. Underneath the turret they go. They take down the Zeri. And they only lose one in the process. 3 for 1. Dorado in the mid lane.
Yeah, I don't know who's calling plays for New Origins. You see,
Paranoia comes out onto the Misfortune, who does not have Flash. Forest not quite able to get the damage out. Baywa will live. Still a 0 in the death column for the AD carry. And now it's Dorado back in the driver's seat.
that's the power of the early Bloodthirster, giving literally just enough for Baywa to keep on living there. I'm just New Origins up until that point was playing the scaling game, relatively well, but then opting to take a bad 3v4 in the mid lane, and then of course Forest thinking they have enough damage to go 1-for-1 on the MF. Of course, the MF does have a shutdown, but just getting too impatient is New Origins, and so definitely gonna help the pocketbooks of Dorado.
No doubt, no doubt. And really, I just want to give props as, we should probably focus on what's happening here with the Herald fight first. Taunt does come out onto 2. Looking pretty good for Dorado once again at the outside of this one. The Meganar is good. Gets 4 there, I believe. Does Valka with the Meganar, but the follow-up is not there. Andromeda has teleported in. And this Lissandra might have a tough time getting out. The CC comes through. Baywa on a rampage. And oh dear, Riders, it just seems like NOD are coming apart at the seams.
Yeah, coming apart at the seams. Indeed, they just don't seem cohesive. It seems like, 2 to 3 people want to do one thing, the other half of the group wants to do another, and it's just leading to easy wins for Dorado. Ballooning up to a 4K gold lead here at the 18, we'll call it 19-minute mark.
Well, yeah, as I was about to say, and as is further illustrated by that fight that we just watched, I feel like, we were kind of worried with this this Dorado composition that, it wasn't necessarily going to be able to team fight that well. It might be difficult into like Lissandra and Braum and all of these peel champions, but they clearly understand their win conditions. They're peeling for Baywa, and their target selection has been really good, and they've played this composition, I think, quite well.
Yeah, and you really don't have to worry about losing a team fight if you never 5v5. Dorado has been able to find skirmish after skirmish, numbers advantage in a variety of ways.
Oh, Baywa maybe. Oh, nope. That's Andromeda who's in trouble. Let's go into the ultimate. Stays alive for now. By the cease and desist. Comes out onto the Nard. He just gets tossed around like a tiny little orange rag doll. Gonna be a double kill for Cherry. 2 more for Dorado. And their gold lead is starting to grow. 5K to the name.
Impatience has been the bane for New Origins here. You're already down quite a bit of gold, trying to find, an avenue for a comeback, but just brute forcing fights on repeat isn't going to be what allows that to happen. In fact, these 2 kills going to let Dorado pick up probably an uncontested Otacon, which is really scary when looking at the Dorado composition.
It is going to be the voracious variety, so that's going to give them all of those additional little flower. Or no, wait, voracious. That's one that gives the
It's the
GA, right?
withdraws. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that is very exciting. And to remember as well, the first 3 dragons have all been secured by Dorado. So I believe that Otacon buff is going to persist until the dragon spawns, and that is going to make it so difficult for NOD to contest. In what's kind of a must-win fight.
Yeah, we'll call it almost 5k up for Dorado. The Otacon buff in tow. We're seeing 2.5 items come through for most of Dorado's members. I don't know how New Origins can really take a fight. Of course, if Dorado overstays their hand and over-aggresses into a peeled Zeri, could get a little bit scary, but I don't know if that can really happen now with so much damage from Dorado's comp.
So if you're in the shoes of New Origin right now, do you actually are the comms right now, like, we have to give Chemtech Soul and we'll just, like, play for Elder? Is that their best chance, or?
I think it gives them the best chance to prolong the game. If they were to take a fight with the Otacon buff up right now, I don't think they're going to win it. Especially when the kills don't really count. Of course, they get buffed, so it's gonna give 200 gold instead of 100. But Dramata needs to be careful.
The tempo is really the biggest advantage that you get from that buff, right? Just the fact that you don't have a respawn timer is so powerful. As the Galio goes in underneath the turret there, Alternative can tank it up for quite a while, and they are gonna push New Origin back. They're gonna secure the tier 2 turret in mid for the side of Dorado. Mega Gnar, Valka is just Gnarred out right as the dragon spawns. This Gnar is not going to have Mega. I don't think there's any way that NOG can win this fight.
Ooh, Cherries immediately goes in.
Maybe a little bit preemptive there as the Galio and Yone ultimates committed as well to try to dive on in here. Forrest the paranoia towards the backline is going to have to disengage. It's going to be rescued. Who flashed away, stays alive for now. The bullet time will take down the Braum. Dustbringer over the wall. This Galio is extremely low, but remember, he's not actually going to die. He's just taking a little vacation back to the fountain, and he's going to be immediately back onto the map. Oh, dear, Baywa. Oh, no. Peels was not able to stick around there. Just Yo-Nay-Nay'd back to his body and left Baywa a bit out to dry.
And Baywa, that kill actually did count, as Forrest might be caught out here by Cherries.
Did. Yeah, Forrest, I think. Oh, the fear? I don't think it's going to save him.
Locked back into Mocha. Unfortunate. 50-50 shot on getting out. Chose the wrong path. But that was a great use of the Voracious Otacon. One of the qualms I've heard in, the low elo comp scene is, what do I do when I get a GA? Like, how do I effectively use pressure? Well, you saw it right there. Expertly done tower dive for that mid tier 2 when, dying wasn't really a worry for Dorado. Gonna open up the map, set up a Drake, and then New Origins just decides to take the fight while Otacon's still up. Now, I will say Baywa did go down at the very end, but that's a small consolation prize for what is Chemtech Soul and really pretty much the entirety of this map being controlled by Dorado.
Yeah, they're in a really, really commanding position now. It's going to be pretty difficult for the side of New Origin to have any kind of window back into this game. Baron is spawning in less than a minute. Chemtech Soul in tow, like you said. Item completions abound. 3 items for the Misfortune. Pretty close to 3 items, I think, for the Yone as well. Probably, what is that going to be third? Is that Infinity Edge?
I would guess an IE, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe not that close, actually, but definitely very strong. You're on the side of Dorado. Do you think they're going to go straight towards this Baron, or are they going to, kind of bide their time a little bit?
I mean, they can approach this Baron however they want. I will say if they fight in a choke, it does get a little scary with the Lysandra, but they have plenty of choke control in their own. Misfortune, really a good Misfortune roll could seal the deal and win this game for Dorado, but they're going to play it a little bit slow now that they don't have the Voracious Otacon, but I say that Cherries goes in.
Lysandra. Andromeda does have the Glacial Tomb and the Path as well to get back up towards the base. So, Vialt on cooldown. And I'm sure Andromeda's pinging that one to the rest of the team.
Hey, you remember when I said before the game started that if Dorado gets ahead and can control the opposing side's jungle, it's going to be really hard for them to walk in?
I do kind of remember you saying that.
Yeah, it's happening right now. They really don't have a way towards this Baron. So Valka doing the smart thing, saying, hey, really, I don't know if we can actually walk into this. Oh,
Oh dear. Andromeda just got popped like a balloon. Did
You
not
see
even
why?
have an opportunity
Can't
to
walk
cast the
in.
ultimate.
yeah, can't
Yeah.
walk in. And so Valka was trying to do his best to pick up tier 2. Already gives a lot of gold on its own. With that objective bounty, it would have been a nice consolation prize. But it just, NO is just once again being a little bit too impatient. Alternatives
Oh,
here.
the flash in for the taunt. Cuddlebear does manage to skate over the wall in time before getting locked down. In comes Forrest over the top, trying to get on top of Baywa, but the peel looks like it is going to be
Okay.
there once again. Baywa kiting backwards. Nocturne actually almost able to make it happen, and Galio is going to get traded back for that one. It's still a 2-for-1 fight in favor of DOG.
The 2-for-1 fight, but Zeri was able to pick up the shutdown on alternative. So that's gold into the Zeri's pocket that is still scaling. This game isn't over, of course, heavily favored in Dorado's.
Okay, they're going
way.
for the engage once again. Gnar back into the wall, but it's only the Rel, and there goes the Yone with the bullet time over the top. There is the Wombo combo, but it's only the
Oh.
Bramu goes down. Now the health bars are pretty low. It's Andromeda respawn. Flash again. Oh, that burst
Up
damage,
there.
though, was insane. But it looks like the side of New Origin are going to be able to clean up the team fight. A little bit of an overstay there, I guess, for Dorado.
They're gonna.
But the health bar is quite low for the side of New Origin as well. Heals,
I think
gets
they
the
need to back
blast
up.
cone.
I think they're overstaying their hand. Just take the win and get out. That was a big win for New Origin. 5-3-1 on this
was.
Zeri. Zeri gonna be able to pick up probably her third item. Cuddlebear getting
There
the
it
team
is.
fight that they wanted. It only took 27 minutes to do it. I will say, the game's not over. Of course, Dorado in the driver's seat, but more plays like that means more opportunities for New Origins to get right back into this game.
Absolutely. And with a composition like this, with the Zeri, you can't ever completely counter out, right? So, need to see the side of Dorado tighten up a little bit. They still have a great position here in this game. They just need to make sure that they're not overextending themselves, because it's still very difficult to play. These dives into Lissandra Braum, right? That's never going to go away. So you have to continue to respect that. And they are going to start up
Aaron
this Baron
started up.
here.
Braum.
Forrest is not close at all. I mean, the Nocturne does have ultimate, but I think he is going to be able to get in range for it.
Gonna come
They're
down to a
going down
smack
low.
fight.
They're going for the flip. It does go to Cherry. Secured for Dorado. Andromeda in the pit as well. Going to get taken down. Forrest flashes out the back. Will be able to stay alive. Gnar is in the side lane. Valka at least going to be able to get that tier 2 that the Gnar was almost able to get before. But still a win for Dorado. What can they get done with this Baron?
Well, it might be a lot. Cherry coming
Yeah,
through.
especially if they can kill Cuddlebear. The Zeri does flash away, stays alive for now, and
Oh.
Baywa is going to get taken down. Now the Magnet Storm does come through for the re-engage, and the health bars do end up dropping on the side of NOD. They got Baywa, but in the end, they just didn't have the numbers. They didn't have the positioning to actually win out in the fight, and now it's only Valka left to try and defend.
Yeah, it's gonna be for sure this inhibitor. Lissandra is up, but these death timers 20 seconds on Cuddlebear. Dorado saying we don't really have the wave for it, so we're gonna back off, play it a little bit smart, take our advantages. Elder's about to come up.
Oh.
Oh man.
Okay. Yeah, we completed the recalls. Elder is spawning. So this is clearly the call for the side of Dorados. They want to play for the Elder. They don't think they can end, or they think it's, just too risky to go for the end.
Yeah,
So they're going to
and
play for the objective.
New Origins has just been too impatient. I think the call was for that tier 2. I think Forrest was just making the desperation steal and then Flash to get out, but Andromeda went in with him. Leads to a kill, leads to the inhibitor going down. We saw the power of the comp Cuddlebear. If they were able to stay alive during that fight on the red side. Could have done damage. We saw Baywa go
Yeah.
down as
Whoa,
oh man.
Galio with the Mega Cone gets right into the thick of things, and there is the Rel with a follow-up engage. Zeri does Zeri herself over the wall, and in comes Force once again, looking for Baywa. Are they going to be able to peel for the MF? The Gnar is right on top of her. He's getting out so much damage, though. The Nocturne does get taken down. Cuddlebear skates over the wall directly into Vi's waiting fist. And now it's just Andromeda and Valka left. Gnar about to turn mini. Alternative does get taken down with that last boomerang from the Gnar. What an incredibly scrappy fight. 3 for 3.
3 for 3, and you know, I will say, Vi likes taking dragons. Are they really gonna go for this? The TP coming through from Andromeda forces Dorado off this Elder instead. You gotta secure the scuttle. You know, a 3 for 3 is a win at this point for New Origins. Dorado's really gotta tighten up. It's been a little bit sloppy for a little too long, and the longer this game goes, Cuddlebear just, you know, a couple of autos away from turning fights for their team.
This might be a good time, Righteous, to mention something else that I had noticed when I was preparing for this match. In last week's battles, the 2-0 for New Origin, both of those games were actually quite long. The first game, I think, was like almost 45 minutes. And the second game, I know for sure, was over 30. Whereas, on the other hand, for Dorado, every single one of their games, the 1 win and the 2 losses, were all under 30 minutes. As Andromeda is going to get taken down here. The Lissandra alone in the side lane, and now Forrest is committed to try and save the mid laner, and it's not going to work out. It's a double kill for Baywa, and with the Elder right there for the taking as well.
Yeah, Andromeda getting caught out was unfortunate, but Forrest choosing to go in there was just a bad play. I got a lead to the Elder going down. Baron going to be coming up in 2 minutes as well. Did they push for the end with the Elder? I don't think so. I think they're going to play it smart, try to secure a Baron. Of course, everybody's going towards Valka. Valka going to be forced to flash out. Okay, no play yet.
Big, getting the Gnar flash. I mean, that's a big tool for the Gnar.
Gnar was able to secure that wave, though, so it's going to be a little bit before they can really do some damage on this tier 2. I don't know. I mean, New Origins is, you know, 3 bad plays away from making this a game.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the direction I was going with that point, you know, before I got rudely interrupted by that engage from Dorado, was just the fact that I can kind of see from the gameplay here of New Origin how they're really good at, like, kind of hanging on in games, right? If they can drag this out for long enough. I mean, we've discussed ad nauseum already, you know, how their composition can scale quite well into the later stages, and furthermore is a pretty good match, you know, strategically into what Dorado have, but they're still really far behind. They're still up against it here, as the bot lane inhibitor turret is going to get taken down. Looks like the inhibitor will not be defended either.
Yeah, New Origin's playing slow, knowing that really their best chance to get into the game is as soon as Elder dissipates, but Dorado really not going to give them the chance, yeah.
Yeah. The last inhibitor turret now about to fall. Elder is still on for almost half its duration. I mean, they've got over a minute at least on that Elder buff still. Bullet time, a lot of damage there is going to force New Origin back to the fountain. All 3 inhibitors now taken down. Baron spawning imminently. And you can tell also, they are, but they're going to back away from that position. That was terrible, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
anyways.
there you go. I think, you know, this bend, don't break philosophy from New Origins can only go so far. I will say the saving grace is that mid lane inhibitor, like you said, does spawn, so it's not going to be the doubled up super minions for long. Yeah, they're kind of taking that Rocky Balboa approach, right? Like, let the opponent beat me up till they're tired, and then we'll just swoop in for the win. They've done a pretty good job coming close to 35 minutes now in a game that really looked like it was good to be decided at the 17-minute mark. We'll have to see. It's it's leaning towards it coming down to one last Baron fight.
Yeah, but it's going to be
Oka.
really tough. Oh, that's going to be the concussive blows. But Forrest, the spell shield already been forced out. The taunt comes through from the Galio. There's Peels coming in on the flank. The Braum flashed away, tries to stay alive, and the Yone has found the Zeri going into the GA here, but I don't think Cuddlebear tries to flash over the wall. Actually kind of a slick move there from Cuddlebear. Does manage to skirt away from the fight, but it's still not going in favor of NOD, as Meganar is going to get cut down 3-0. A huge win there for Dorado, and they can push to end.
They can push to end. They have the wave available to them. Forrest, the only member of New Origins here. Cuddlebear fighting for life, dodging this Galio, but Galio doing a good job of stopping the backs. Forrest goes in, flashes out, trying to buy time, but that's going to be the game for Dorado.
Yeah, 36 minutes on the game clock, and the first Nexus of the night does fall for Dorado Gaming.
Yeah, I just, a couple of impatient plays is really what ultimately led to New Origin Direction's downfall. Alternative, not the best showing on Lissandra. We'll have to see, or sorry, not alternative. Andromeda, not the best showing on Lissandra. A little bit too impatient with the style of play that the rest of New Origins was looking for. But the good thing about a best of 3 is game 1 really doesn't matter. It comes down to deciding either game 2 or game 3. This is a warm up for New Origins. We'll have to see how they bounce
Oh, the
back.
warm-up game.
Yeah.
Right, of
That's what
course, of course.
you're
This
telling
is
your
the
team.
content game.
Yeah, this is what you're telling your team. Oh, we're
Yeah.
scaling into games 2 and 3.
There you go, there you go. I like it, I like it. But, definitely for the side of Dorado, they came out guns blazing. They didn't need any time to scale. They loaded onto the Rift, it felt like, with full build, at least in terms of their strategy and what they were looking to accomplish. So definitely
Yeah.
pretty well coordinated on their side. And Baywa in particular, it can be really difficult to, be the one ranged carry in dive compositions like this, because I mean, yes, in a perfect world, your team is peeling for you and like protecting you and positioning around you to keep you safe. But ultimately, when most of your team is diving forward to try to kill the enemy backline, a lot of the burden is going to fall on you for kind of keeping yourself safe and having good positioning and putting yourself in situations where you're not going to get caught out by the enemy team when your team is focused on the enemy carries. So I thought Baywa had a great game, had a crazy amount of damage on the Misfortune, was like 54.5k or something
Yeah.
in that one.
It's a lot easier to stay alive when the opposing team is just fighting for their lives, away from you, right? With that dive composition, Dorado really able to abuse the mistakes that New Origins gave them. I will say Cherries, while did go down early in gold, was up in tempo. It felt like playing for her team, getting Baywa ahead on that bottom side of the map. We'll have to see if New Origins can slow down game 2, if that's really what their approach is going to be. Play a slow, sustained, scaling game, because we saw glimpses of their play style working, right? A couple of skirmishes and team fights went their
For
way
sure.
as we approached and went past that 30-minute mark, but it was just too little too late. The gold lead that Dorado had acquired for themselves off of some really good proactive plays was just a tad too much. I mean, if you're walking away from game 1 for either of these teams, I think both of these teams are saying we could play better game 2.
For sure, yeah. Yeah. And will be very exciting to see what the teams do decide to bring out in that second game. But last order of business for this first one, right? Just I always like to award a POG after every game that I cast. So
Yeah.
for the side of Dorado here, if you were going to award a POG for this one, who do you think you'd look towards?
I mean, POGs are always ADC driven, I feel like, and it's hard not to give it to him, but I think Baywood deserves it. Cherries had a really good early game and did her job on the Vi in the later portions. Yone was kind of like quiet, unsung hero. Didn't really see too much of him until the mid to late games. But this misfortune was active early and never looked back. The the one death that sticks out is just as the Otacon, dissipated, New Origins was able to get that kill. But other than that, I feel like Bewa had a really solid game. From level 2 onwards, Bewa paired with that Rel was able to get the better of the opposing two members of New Origin. So I'm going to give it to Bewa.
I like it. I like it. Definitely an honorable mention to the bot lane partner there in Mocha, who had a great game on the Rel. Also found a lot of great engages and follow-up engages also. But I'm down to a line on the Baywa vote here. That's going to conclude our first game of the night, guys. Dorado Gaming. Remember, they lost their match last week. They're really going to want to pick up the win tonight to make sure they don't start out the season 0-2. And they are now only one game away from being able to accomplish that. We'll see if they can make it happen, guys, after this short break. All right, everybody, welcome back to the LXC. We're gearing up for game number 2 between No Direction and Dorado Shy. We are going to be swapping sides for the second game, Righteous. So we're going to see Dorado over on the red side this time around and No Direction on the blue. Besides sides, what do you think is maybe the most important thing to see from No Direction they need to change up in this second game in order to get themselves a win and bring us to that game number 3?
Honestly, I feel like they had a recipe for success and it just came down to execution in game 1. I liked what they were showing into Dorado. They're actually taking away the misfortune from Baywa, securing themselves that power pick. Um, they got a little too antsy. They just take a deep breather, before the game, do your like meditation or whatever you need to do to get yourself in the right mindset, not get too caught up in the tempo of the game. And I think they'll be okay. I think they had a decent but not great showing in game 1, and I expect them to reverse that trend in game 2. But there's Cherry's Gwen.
There is the Gwen, yes. So we subbed out the Gwen ban that we had in the previous game for a Vi ban on the side of No Direction. And that is going to, as we can see here, leave the Gwen open. So I am very excited to see Cherry on the Gwen here. You guys have kind of been hyping this up. And there aren't really that many Gwen jungle players. You know, it's not something that we actually see very often. So I'm looking forward to this one for sure, as the Ezreal is going to come through for Baywa.
We're seeing some really good answers into the Misfortune already. Gwen, of course, goes immune, and so it's going to be really hard for the Misfortune ult to come over the top if that Gwen W is available. And then, of course, Ezreal, unless he's locked down with that Arcane Shift, can get out of the bullet times path. So trying to nullify the power of this Misfortune pick. I expect more of No Directions comp
Ooh.
to... Oh, interesting. I was expecting stuff to set up this Misfortune like the Galio, but the Kindred is an interesting choice.
Wow, it sure is. It sure is. It's a very aggressive choice. Also for Forest here. Does
Hmm.
Forest have any stats on the Kindred? Let me see if I can find really quick.
While you're doing that, I'll talk a little bit about the Kindred Gwen matchup. The only reason I feel like Forrest is taking this is because he did find gold advantages in game one, while Cherries was trying to be a little bit more proactive on the Vi pick. But I don't think Gwen's going to be nearly as proactive. So what I figure Forrest is trying to do is find the Gwen in her own jungle and look for the 1v1 skirmishes early, because that Kindred into the Gwen, a great pick until the Gwen starts to scale into the later stages of the game. So going to try to uh, cause Cherry to go off kilter a little bit with some early pressure and early invades.
Yeah, I mean, Kindred obviously can also scale extremely well, assuming
Yeah.
you are collecting those marks. I checked for the Kindred stats on Forest. He's got a few games this season, nothing too crazy though. I do really like the Kindred alongside the Galio in particular, because you get the circle synergy there. It works really nicely. And
Yeah.
Galio does have some pretty good presence in the lane in the early game as well, so you can get some mid prio, which is obviously incredibly important for Kindred in trying to
Hmm.
secure those early marks. So I like the pairing definitely of Kindred and Galio. It's really going to come down to execution though. I mean, Kindred is such a heavily execution based
I like
champion.
I like the pairing as well. I also like the Gallia Misfortune pairing. What I don't like is the Kindred Misfortune pairing, because back when Kindred was like, really popular in the meta, you're playing Misfortune, you get a really good ult and a choke, and then your own team's Kindred saves the enemy team. That's always a feels bad moment. So we'll have to see if No Direction avoids that mishap. But bans were flying through. Rel taken away from Mocha. Not Mocha. Oh yeah, Mocha.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah, yeah.
I'm getting confused here. Too many chocolate terms on the brain, and then the Leona as well. Corky gonna be picked up, and then Garen gonna be the response to the Cassante, which Adam over in Europe made so well and apparent that it's a good champion. But this Galio Garen, I don't know how they ever stick on to an Ezreal, a Corky, or a Gwen.
Was that last week that Adam pulled out the Garen?
I don't know. I don't know.
Or are you
I've
just
been a
talking
little
about in
below.
general?
Yeah, I just remember
Oh, okay,
last
okay.
year when
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the whole gods thing where Garen was being taken in Cassante kind of as that niche counter pick.
Yeah, Adam has, as far as I know, hasn't been playing the Gods Champions as much so far this season. But I did miss most of last week's games over in the LEC, so not really too sure. The Renata has come through here as the final lock-in for No Direction. It's going to be paired up alongside the Misfortune down there. Not necessarily a classic pairing for the Renata with the Misfortune, but definitely some potential there with, setting up for bullet times, possibly with a hostile takeover can look really good. So definitely, I can see the vision, right,
Yeah.
for No D.
Yeah, speaking of vision, if No Direction gets an advantage or able to carve out a vision advantage, walking into this comp is extremely scary for Dorado. The threat of getting Galio taunted into a Renato ult with Misfortune over the top seems like a bad time. I wouldn't enjoy that if that were to happen to me. On the flip side, Dorado not a great team fight setup, really relying on the Maokai to make a lot happen for them. Lots of damage between the Gwen, the Ezreal, and the Corki, but not a lot of lockdown outside of that Maokai. So, gonna be a little bit harder of a comp to execute than what you saw from Dorado in game one.
Certainly, certainly. And it's going to be really interesting to see how effective they are going to be at executing said composition. I do think that while I do agree they don't really have very much lockdown for the side of Dorado, I do think that at the very least they do have a great front line, right, in the form of
Yeah.
Cassante and Maokai. So Ezreal and Corki should have a lot of space to work with in these fights to try and dish out the DPS. I'm not really sure, honestly. I'm trying to think, which composition I favor with these drafts, and I think they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. I mean, both sides have frontline, both sides have strong scaling carries, and both sides are a little bit lacking in engage.
I will say the Galio, a really nice engage tool when buffed up by the Renata, or enabling the Kindred to go forward, or even the Garen to that extent. But um, I think it's gonna come down to vision control, because both of these teams, if they're at objectives first with good vision control, are very hard to approach. Maokai, it's been well documented that walking into saplings and getting slowed makes it really hard to approach objectives. But on the flip side, for no direction, walking into a Renata and Galio is equally as hard. So we'll have to see how both these teams kind of navigate the mid game objective setups. Vision is going to be key. A Galio or a Garen flank would wreak havoc for Dorado's comp, being able to split them up. You talk about a strong front line, but they can only really protect one side. And if this Garen gets ahead and comes out of flank, could be very scary for either the Ezreal or Corki. So I don't know. I think no directions comps maybe a little bit more easily executable, but Dorado's is full of champs that these players are well versed on, and they're coming in with the momentum, having picked up the game one win. So
Very
I really
true.
think game two is really anybody's matchup to take.
Are we expecting any fireworks in the early game this time around? Last game we had that really kind of odd start where we had 5-man moves on opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, I don't know about, early invades per se. I guess you can always look for something with an apprehend from Renata. I know she probably prefers to start the E into the Ezreal Maokai matchup. Um, I do think this Kindred, though, really wants to get aggressive onto the Gwen in the early stages of this game. I imagine that the Renata Misfortune is going to get the push on the bottom side of the map. In top lane, I would imagine Garen could get the push as well. Galio and Corki probably gonna have even wave states, so look for this Kindred to play towards their side lanes and get aggressive onto Dorado's side of the jungle early.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kindred is one of those champions where it can be really threatening. Even like a level 2 early invade can sometimes catch people off guard. Can be really effective for the Kindred.
Hmm.
And Gwen, I think, not particularly strong in the early game either. So could potentially be easy prey for Forest's Kindred if he can catch the Gwen out, at the right moment. We'll have to see. Obviously, whenever Kindred is in the game, they kind of warp how both teams need to play, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to be playing around these marks. So that's obviously going to be the main thing that I'm looking for in this one, to really watch Forest and how all of these players kind of work around that sort of little mark mini game.
Yeah, to that point, that mini game, I think if you're looking just at the mini game, probably favors no direction, right? Lots of enabling tools for the Kindred to get aggressive to find those marks. Galio ult obviously being the most obvious of them, but the choke control that Renata Glask and Misfortune offers as well could really unlock this Kindred as the game goes on. On the flip side, if Kindred gets ahead and No Direction is playing into Dorado's jungle, what's the response, right? Because none of these champions really have
Mm.
ton of comeback mechanics, other than maybe a Cassante getting a pick out on a mispositioned No Direction player. The Corki and Ezreal will scale, but they don't really have a lot of setup to hit those skill shots or to buy space other than that Maokai and Cassante like you were talking about. So, if it's kind of like a tale of game one, but this time the roles are flipped. I feel like if
Mm.
No Direction gets aggressive early and it is able to secure an early game lead, they're gonna have a lot easier of a time closing this game out. Whereas Dorado is now the one that wants to scale with the Gwen pick, with the Corki and the Ezreal.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think Dorado's early game is pretty weak, all things considered. The Corki does come online relatively early. Can
Mm-hmm.
do damage. Definitely. Once he has the first item done, he's going to be hitting pretty hard. But I do think it's going to come down in large part to Cherry and everybody on Dorado needing to sort of anticipate the Kindred's moves in advance and kind of
Mm-hmm.
play around that. Because if they find themselves in a position where Forest is invading and like Cherry is just getting choked out and like losing camps and doesn't have a response, that's when the Kindred can feel really, really powerful, right?
Yeah, and that kind of communication really shined for Dorado in game one, especially with the way they were able to buy themselves an early game lead. The communication kind of either faltered or fell apart for No Direction in game one. So if they're gonna pull this Kindred off, they're gonna have to really play cohesively, play more as a unit than we saw in game one. So we'll just have to see
Mm.
if they're able to do so.
Do you have faith in them, Righteous? Do you think they're going to be able to pull it off with the Kindred here, or they definitely do not have momentum, like you mentioned just a little bit earlier. That is squarely on the side of Dorado after that game one performance. So what's your head telling you? What's that analytical mind
I think if
giving?
you took off the nameplates and we're going off of like how these comps want to play, I'd give the edge to No Direction. But with the nameplates
Fair.
on and knowing Dorado was last season's champions, I'm going to give the edge to Dorado here.
All right. The nameplate diff might be coming into play, guys. We're going to go to another short break and then on to the Rift for our second and possibly last game of the evening.
There's a beauty in the way you're worn and the sharpness of your thorns. So vibrate in the imperfection. There's a beauty in the way you lay, and the way your color fades. You stand out now with your imperfections. Oh, it was never meant to fall apart. It was not supposed to cause us harm.
Here we go, ladies and gents. Back onto the good old Rift of Summoning for another match of League of Legends, or another game, I should say. 5-man coming out once again from no direction. They're going to push forward towards the Banana Brush. They're going to clear out that ward thanks to the Sweeper of Rescued. Early advantage there. 1 CS for Andromeda. Doesn't get XP for it anymore, though. Very sad.
Yeah, with all the members there, it wouldn't have given him level 2.
I guess that's fair.
But either way, you said Summoner's Rift, and I was just thinking about that. The old lore was that we as players were summoners and we're like calling the
Way
champions
back
onto
in
the
the day,
Rift.
yeah.
They got rid of that lore. Why is it still called Summoner's Rift?
I think, I don't know. Maybe there's still summoners in the universe, and it's just like the reason for the champions being here isn't the same, but like
Why don't they
summoners
call it
still
like the
exist,
Rift
I
of
guess. I don't know.
Runeterra or something? Because the Rift part makes
Oh,
sense.
that would have
Like,
some alliteration there as well. Oh, that would actually be
yeah,
so much better. I'm
yeah.
sold. I'm sold. Let's.
There you
Do you want
go.
to just
That's my
call it
pitch to
that?
Riot. I mean, we could.
We could just executive
It does take
decision.
a lot longer to say than Summoner's Rift. It feels like, but
Um,
the Rift of
we could just call it
Runeterra.
Rune Rift for short.
Yeah, you could. Because the Rift part makes sense, right? Like all these,
For sure.
champions coming
Yeah.
together and trying to, make stuff right. But
And
the
there's
Summoner's
also
part's
like
no longer there.
No, I think you're absolutely right. This is a big hole in the lore that we've discovered. Maybe this will all be answered in the Noxus television show.
Are they gonna make it a TV show?
I thought that was the
You,
plan. Yeah, or that was gonna be the next TV show was gonna be set in Noxus. I thought I
I
heard
don't
something about
know.
that.
Riot makes promises, then I'm still waiting for the MMO. It's just
Sure.
who knows.
Who knows?
But yeah, they need a name change for the Rift. I mean, they could even just call it the Rift.
They could.
Just
They
get the
could.
summoner part out of it. Either way, looking at the runes here as we wait for the little pause delay. No TP on Valka, opting for the ignite to get some kill pressure into Peel's Cassante. Cherries with
Adam
the
would be
ghost.
proud.
Yeah, cherries with the ghost. You don't really need flash on Gwen if piloted correctly, which Cherry definitely knows how. But then pretty standard across the board. Once again, the mention to the Aftershock on Galio. But nothing else really is standing out here.
Interesting that Forest would go for the press the attack option on the Kindred, I think. Personally, I might go for either Lethal Tempo or Conqueror this game against, the Cassante and the Maokai front line that I imagine the Kindred is probably
really
going to be.
low.
Oh, absolutely right. Yeah, that Galio is going extremely low. Remember, Andromeda was playing against the Galio in the previous game. So we need to kind of keep an eye out. Make sure that Galio mastery is actually there. Whereas, if this is solely locked in just as a pick away, then I don't know if I love the odds of that going super well.
We'll see.
For the side.
I will say Alternative took that pressure, got a really nice ward onto Forest Raptors. I was expecting a little bit more aggression from this Kindred. Perhaps that's why the PTA was taken to really carve out an advantage against Cherry, but hasn't happened. Of course, now we see it. We're talking about these side lanes early.
Okay, here we go. Kindred making their first move into the enemy jungle. Like the blue buff is still alive for now. Yeah, Forest has secured the patience. There is the Twisted Advance. Does come out from the Maokai. Didn't quite see who the blue buff went to. Andromeda's going to go down for the first blood. There's so many low health buffs. Alternative, that Valkyrie forward was so aggressive. The Corky is going to go down. There's so many low health bars. Cherry gets a Triumph proc. The barrier comes out now from Cuddle Bear, and it is going to be so many bodies on the floor. A 4-for-3 fight is going to be the side of Dorado narrowly coming out ahead.
You're talking about the Kindred minigame. Well, the objective was the blue buff. Forest did not get the smite. Cherries was able to secure that for herself, and then the fight was won by Dorado on top of that. So I will say, Cuddle Bear able to pick up a couple kills. Kindred did as well. So the kills going where they needed to be for No Direction, but overall the tempo definitely favoring Dorado there. I think was able to pick up the feat as well.
Yeah, I believe they did get that feat of warfare, I believe, should have come through for the side of Dorado. And I do want to have a moment of appreciation for the Dorado. Oh, Alternative in trouble. Is going to get taken down. Okay, was that a mark for the Kindred as well? Did they have the Corki marked? It looks like they did. First mark acquired for Forest.
It was either a Corki Mart or the Scuttle. Either way.
I think the mark was on the Gromp, though. I don't think it was on the Scuttle.
Oh, yeah. You're right. So it must have been on the Corki. Either way, good setup by Andromeda. Good follow-up by Forest.
Oh, what's going on over here? As the Kindred is going to be... Wow, this is the Gwen invading the Kindred. That's not what we expected to see.
I don't think
but it looks like Cherry is going to be... No. Kindred definitely knows, because Cherry was fighting the Kindred a moment ago, as the smite is going to come through for the Gwen, and Forest just used the jump as well. No flash. Is the Gwen going to have another dash? Oh my goodness, if the Kindred gets solo killed! Oh my goodness, Cherry on the Gwen jungle. That is devastating for Forest.
Okay, I'm going to say that Forest didn't know, and didn't know how low the red buff was, because...
Do we do replays here in the LXC?
We don't, but if Forrest did know, why did he walk in there?
Because he wanted the red buff. Look, I'm a Kindred player. I understand Kindred brain. You need red buff. Okay? I think the Kindred didn't have a choice there. I would have done the same thing. I don't Forrest did nothing wrong.
I mean, but the choice between living and dying is usually pretty easy for me. But anyways,
well, you don't play Kindred, clearly.
True. But Cherry, we're talking about Forest trying to carve out an early lead. Cherry has been all over Forest's game plan so far. Up about 3 camps and winning fights, getting the solo bolo. It's tough for Forest out here right now.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate. The Kindred trying to secure this dragon right now. Is this going to be a... Oh, no. My goodness. That's an Alt F4 angle, I think. My goodness.
Ooh, just no setup for the Kindred to really be trying to do that.
That was greedy. Yeah, I mean, you could feel how
that was a
how greedy that was. It was. It's exactly what it was.
It was a tilt play, and now you walk away even more tilted. Kindred gonna focus the attention up to Cherry's red buff. So, Force trying to make the most out of a bad situation, but it's been all Cherry so far here in this early game.
It really has, yeah. And look at that monstrous CS lead in the jungle. It got the objective even. Stole the Kindred's red buff. Oh my goodness, I would be molding.
Yeah. You know, shout out to Cherry's team, though. Dorado doing a lot to facilitate this early game lead for the Gwen. Andromeda.
Oh, Galio blinking health bar there. And is going to go down in the end. Solo kill there for Alternative in the mid lane. Peel's ignited, burning down.
Ultimate is not...
Oh, the all-out! Oh, the turret! Oh, the last turret shot. Oh, Garen just spins his way to safety. So a solo kill now for the other side. That's going to be the top laner of No Direction, able to make something happen for the squad. They badly needed that one. Top laner will answer the call. Cherry secures 2 out of the 3 grubs.
Oh, no.
As the Gwen now has level 6, and the Kindred does not. Goodbye, Forest. And the Galio is here now. Andromeda trying to lock some members down as the Garen is moving over. Valka trying to punish this. Look at that Corki damage, though. He doesn't even have his first item yet. By the way, the flash from Mocha gets in there. The twisted advance. Oh, but the bailout, it comes through. It doesn't quite come through in time, actually. The Maokai, the Gallia will both go down. It's a double kill over the Corki. Some extra gold there, even from the Garen. Alternative is going to be so strong now. And the side of Dorado are up about 1.5k here in the early
There's
game.
just
Gromp gonna get stolen away. Cherry hops over the wall. Forest still only level 5 on the Kindred.
Yeah, this
At
is
least they will secure this mark on the Crab.
I wouldn't call it too soon, but it looks like Cherry is gonna let Kindred have this mark. This has been a masterclass of how to play into a Kindred and really shut the champion down before he even gets going.
It actually does kind of all go back to the initial invade that the Kindred went for, right? As
Yeah.
well, hold on just a moment here. Oh, Andromeda's fine.
No,
No, maybe
I
not.
don't know.
Maybe not. We are valking forward. Alternative thinks that might have the angle here.
Oh,
That is
man.
going to force out the Lamb's Respite from Forest. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
alternative on this
sticking around,
Corki.
actually. Oh, has to flash away from the taunt. Ooh, imagine there. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Oh, he
Wow.
actually almost pulled it off. So close there for the Corki to actually just point blank 1v2.
Got the
That would
shutdown.
have been. Oh.
Kendrick did get the shutdown, so not all is lost for Forest, but we knew Cherry was confident coming into this game because her producer said she specifically requested for the interview after they won
Ready.
game 2. And definitely back in the talk, rescued's caught.
Oh, dear. Not your jungle rescued. Oh, nice flash. Gets over the wall into the red buff pit. Renata
Now
will
Kindred
survive.
just doesn't get to walk towards her red. Instead, it's going to
looks
be
like,
Dorado backing off. So I thought they could have probably
Yes.
just pressured there, but
I feel like, I guess they didn't have Baywa in position to follow up
oh nope,
necessarily.
the pressure's
so...
coming.
Okay, here they go, yeah. Actually, a bit of a scuffle in the mid lane is happening as well as the engage from Andromeda.
Ooh.
The Nature's Grasp comes out, doesn't quite connect onto anybody. Now Force is here, hopping forward. A lot of
my
damage coming out from this
gosh.
Corki, though. The Valkyrie back to create the spacing as well for Alternative. Galio ultimate in retreat. Andromeda does escape back underneath the tier 1, but blinking health bars for all of those No Direction members. They can't really step up to defend this as Forest wanted to try and is going to pay for it. Although Cherry is going to get taken down as well. The turret shot comes through, and that's actually a ton of gold going over to the Galio, who does also die.
Yeah, it's a ton of gold for the Galio, and the Galio needs it. 2 and 5 at 11 minutes. Andromeda, pretty rough showing in game 1, and that theme has consisted into game 2. I really don't know what to make of this early game. It's just been all Dorado, even more so than game 1. At some point, when you're just bleeding gold, somebody on No Direction has to, really speak up and say, like, look, guys, we just need to chill. We're taking fights and we're losing all of them. That fight in mid lane could have went a lot worse if Cherries was able to get all 3 of the ultimate procs to hit. Instead, it was a 2-for-2 trade, so kind of salvaging that play. But I mean, this is almost a 2k gold lead at 11 minutes for Dorado.
Well, at least No Direction looks like they're going to be able to secure the grubs here. They have 2 of them already. There's the 3rd going over, so 1 more, and they will have the Twitch chatters as an ally this game. But the Gwen gets in there, does smite away, or snip away, I guess, that last grub. I think it was actually the auto attack that secured it. Three grubs apiece. This one. Twitch chatters not going to be making an appearance on the Rift this time around.
Is that what you call the Void Mites? Twitch chatters?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I'm a little confused. I'm picking it up now, though. No Twitch chatters on the Rift.
Relegated to the chat. I think they're more comfortable there.
Looking at the game state, outside of that, early game fiasco on bot side, it's really been quiet on the side lanes. It's all been mid lane pretty much since that point forward. As Forest.
Okay, that was a blast cone. That was a decision that you could make.
Oh no.
As okay, their Corki is in a little bit of a trouble now. He's gonna have to Valk over the wall, and the auto attack in the air for the Kindred. That was another mark, I believe. I heard the audio cue, but still only at 2, unfortunately, for the Kindred, which is suboptimal.
Not where you want to be.
No, I wouldn't say so. As now we do have Cuddle Bear in a whole bunch of trouble down here. As Baywa underneath the turret took a little bit of a free turret shot there.
Good TP from Andromeda.
Yeah, very good TP from the Galio. and is on the chase now. See if they can maybe lock anybody down. Not quite going to happen, though. Wow, does have a super honey fruit there to heal up a little bit.
Andromeda did spot out Gwen. Cherry might be caught out here.
Awkward
Force.
position for Cherry for sure, yeah.
No
Where is the
ultimate
Gwen
for
going
Cherry.
to go? The smite actually did come through there for Forest to secure the grub. Mocha, nice bramble smash there to try to exfiltrate the jungler. Alternative over the wall. Watch the Corki here. Holding on to the Valk for now. Ooh, Arcane Shift forward there for Baywa. Lands the Mystic Shot.
You know, nothing really happened from that play, but I'll consider that a win from No Direction only because they actually backed out of a losing fight. We haven't seen that to this point.
True. Props for not forcing it when they didn't necessarily have the great angle.
And, you know, I said that, and they're sticking around, and I'm getting flashbacks to game 1, but it looks like they'll eventually get the backs off. Meanwhile, on the top side, Peels gonna secure first tower for free.
Yeah, and that is going to be the feats going over to Dorado once again here. As, of course, they did get the feat of Warfare, and then getting the first turret is... Oh, Baywa? Okay. The turret dies before the Ezreal, thankfully.
Yeah, this gold lead, we just talked about 11 minutes. It was 2K. Here at the 15-minute mark, getting closer to 3. So Dorado doing the right thing and slowly, incrementally increasing that lead, using the advantages they have.
Again, as well.
Yeah, and because there's no void mats this go around for No Direction, the push gonna be pretty hard into a Gwen, Corki, and Ezreal. You know, Corki, Ezreal not known for their wave clear, but together proves a pretty good pairing.
Yeah, definitely. Be you know, workable. Side of Dorado. That was mark number 3 for the Kindred, so Forest 1 mark away now from being a real champion.
Mocha has to be careful. No team yet, but Cherry is on the way. But nothing's going to happen. Both these teams posturing for the upcoming Rift Herald. And I have to imagine that if Dorado wants to fight for it, No Direction really has no choice but to back off.
That would be my assumption. Kindred on the bottom side of the map right now doesn't really feel like Forest is going to want to, as I say that, moving up now towards the North River. Peels going to utilize the Mega Blast Cone, deny that from No Direction. Forest trying to force their way in here. Baywa, a little bit of playing bodyguard as a lot of damage does come down onto the Kindred. True Shot Barrage not quite going to find the mark. Nice arcane shift there to get away from the hostile. Take a Herald down to about 2,000. It is going extremely low. Valka, though, does run out of HP. The bailout is not going to save the Garen. And now Andromeda separated from the rest of the team. Beautiful flash there from the Maokai. Gets away from the bullet time. And now Andromeda left out to dry. Oh, that last little tick of the Wings of War actually is going to take down Mocha. So that is, you know, at least 1 kill back for the Galio.
I don't know if you caught that. The last tick on Mocha was actually a stack for Forest there.
Oh, I missed that. So that is number 4 for the Kindred then, as Alternative's going to find another kill in the mid lane, and the Kindred, this might be a little bit over-aggressive for the Corki. The Gatling gun, though, is it the Gatling gun? Not quite.
And Forest got another one. Another kill, I should say.
Oh, not another mark, though. Okay.
Not another mark.
That'd be crazy if another mark so soon. But yeah, I mean, this is feeling kind of similar to last game, right? Where Dorado, they're playing maybe a little bit too fast and loose here.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to when the early game went so well, but this Corki that was playing so aggressively and playing towards the margins all of a sudden has 6 deaths, which is not great to see.
Not ideal. Definitely not ideal.
But I will say it's still about a 3,000 gold lead for Dorado. And scaling this time is in their favor.
For sure, yeah. Especially with the Kindred being behind.
Is this back-to-back Chemtech rifts, by the way?
It is,
How boring.
Yeah. I hope that's not my fault. You know, in the LCK, they obviously say that when Aux joined, they started getting way more Chemtech rifts. I'm really hoping it's not a similar situation for me here.
Just a one-off match.
Yeah, surely this is just
Andromeda
it's you know, a
setting
Chemtech
up
kind
for
of night, I
Forest.
think. Alternative, I don't think is getting out of this one. As Forest gonna go on a killing spree, actually.
That was not another mark.
No, it was not, but there is the mark on the Krugs over there. If the Kindred could just get over to those Krugs,
You gotta
I
break open
think,
the
yeah,
map
you
and
want
do
to
it.
hop right over there, I think, is got to be the play.
Uh-oh.
As,
Oh my
okay.
goodness.
Gwen, I think, is just about to get executed. There she goes. Yeah, Valka is going to bring that big old sword down from the sky.
I don't
And,
know.
that's...
I don't know if the flash is necessary, but it scared me. I'm sure it scared Cherry.
It's about sending a message, okay?
Yeah, not the greatest use of Rift Herald. But
No?
I will
They
say
did get
the
the
level
dragon.
lead is only about 1,000 now. It was up to almost 4
Yeah.
at one point.
Yeah, very true. You know, again, no direction there. They're definitely still in it. I mean, this game is definitely not over yet. I do like Dorado's position, though.
You know,
You just need to...
oh my goodness. Look at the jungle matchup. For as bad as the early game went for the Kindred, now has a
Yeah.
250 gold shutdown and has brought the CS back to even.
Absolutely, yeah. The Kindred's been able to pick up a few of these last hits, and yeah, 2 items done now for Forest. The Kindred is online.
I think the momentum might
Otacon.
be shifting for no direction here, but the communication issues we saw in game 1 have reared their head a couple of times here in game 2. That doesn't mean they can't be solved on the fly. It's going to be up to no direction. Kind of clean it up a little bit and really play as a team and rally around this Kindred that is, you know, Forest has fought their way back into this game.
Absolutely. Oh, Otacon alive now. Which version do we have this game? Do we just take a quick
I
look here?
didn't catch it, but I'm
Looks like
assuming
it's the
it's the boring one. I think.
the boring one being the not GA one.
No, the boring one is the GA one.
Oh, okay.
I
I think
like
it
the
is actually
flowers.
the other one, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh-oh.
But let's see here. Cherry's gonna go in with the needlework. It's rescued actually is the target. Renata is gonna toss out the hostile takeover,
Oh.
and Lamb's Respite's gonna keep the Renata
Oh.
alive. There's that anti-synergy though that you were so afraid of, Righteous. And now the Mega Blast Gun's gonna get Mocha in position to engage onto Andromeda. The Maokai though doesn't have any follow-up. The rest of the team actually is onto the objective. They're burning down the Otacon. And
Yeah.
it looks like the side of no direction, they're not going to contest.
I think they know that Otacon is no longer there, is making the smart cross-map play, playing with the wave. Gonna try to put pressure on tier 2. Mocha is here, but this is a support Maokai. I don't know if they can really do much.
I mean, you could probably safe underneath this. Oh,
You could
maybe
just
not.
walk in and die.
Yeah, I guess that's an option. If
Okay.
only Mocha could have gotten a little bit, you know, like actually behind the turret there. Maybe that would have been okay. But yeah, just kind of got CC'd and died there. A little unfortunate.
This is the fun
It's the fun one.
Otacon.
Yeah,
So,
it's the other one. Yeah.
yeah, a bunch of damage coming through for Dorado with those flowers that were taken after the Otacon buff was secured. So I will say that the proactive play from no direction kept the gold even by taking down those 2 towers, but this is definitely a very heavily favored Dorado game state with Dragon Soul coming up here in a minute.
Yeah.
Don't know how no direction. They gotta look for a pick with the Galio Kindred, it feels like.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
just don't know if Dorado's gonna give him that opportunity.
and I feel like with Galio Kindred, I mean the ultimates are so powerful in the team fight, right? I don't think you want to use your Galio Kindred combo to get a pick. I mean,
I think if they
I
could pick
hear you.
cherries, I think if they could pick cherry, it'd be very worth it.
maybe.
But we'll have to see. Forest does have the mark on Mocha, so maybe they're trying to go after the team fight enabler in Maokai.
The
Both
Corki
these
is
teams-
separated right now. Alternative up towards the top lane with TP. But the rest of Dorado are going to have to play this pretty slow until Corki can join up with the rest of the squad.
It's so hard for No Direction to hold river control right now. Andromeda was not quite there, so forced
Okay,
out
here
of
comes the
river.
Corki TP behind the rest of the team. Forest hopping
Garen has
forward. They're
flank
trying to
angle.
get that vision control that you were just talking about. Yeah, there is the flank angle on the Garen as
Oh.
well. Andromeda does get in there, finds a taunt only onto the front line, though. The bull time does come out over the top, but the carries are able to stay safe for the side of Dorado.
Valka's just
And
caught.
Valka's flank has just been completely stuffed by Cherry. The Galio ultimate, heroic entrance does come in over the top there and forces into the back line, trying to take down Alternative, but the Corki flashes over the wall and stays alive, and the jungler for No Direction is no way out. One more rocket to the back of the head. That's going to be the end of Kindred. Mocha, meanwhile, is still alive on this Maokai. It's only Baywa who's going down in this fight for Dorado. And there's the Valk over the wall. That's going to be the end of Rescued. That's going to be the team fight win and the Chemtech Soul. Everything is going to be going over to Dorado Gaming.
It looked like No Direction, if they were on the same page, might have been able to win that fight, but somehow, don't know how, Mocha was able to mind control 3 members of No Direction to stay on them instead of trying to enable Forest to clean up the rest of the fight.
Yeah. I think we saw those communication issues come through again, unfortunately, for No Direction. It was like they were kind of going in one by one. There was like the Garen flank happening, but then it was like after Garen died, then we saw the Galio ultimate come out. It was just, they weren't quite together. They weren't going for the same target.
Yeah. I will say the gold lead isn't insurmountable at this point for No Direction. But with the Chemtech, Drake, and really momentum favoring Dorado, you know, the game state probably doesn't feel as close as it is right now for No Direction.
Yeah. I mean, Kindred is still strong here, but has to be a little bit careful.
Kindred did find five marks here.
So 5 Kindred? That's
Yep.
okay, but I mean, you kind of need more at this point. I mean, you got to be the main carry at this point in the game on the Kindred, and hey, you really want at least 7 this late.
I think if No Direction wants a fighting chance in this game, they're going to have to make a play before the 3rd item of Gwen comes through, because I think that once that happens, they're just going to melt with all the damage that Dorado has for themselves.
Most likely, yeah. I agree.
Do they know that, though? I
Clock's
don't
ticking.
know.
For Dorado, should be pretty straightforward from here. They probably could set up a Baron play. You know, they're not feeling so confident that they're going straight there or anything like that. Clearly, it's something that No Direction are worried about. They're moving over here, making sure that they have some vision control over the Baron pit. Forest gonna face check the Gwen here, and the Kindred immediately gonna be forced to use the ultimate. Here comes the Galio, the hero's entrance over the top, but that is huge tools gone now for the side of No Direction. The Galio's gonna get rooted up by the Nature's Grasp. Baywa does get clipped by the edge of the taunt. Galio down to about 50% HP. Everybody on No Direction gonna be forced to retreat here. Kindred forced to go back to base, replenish the health bar. Andromeda Justice Punch away. Blast Cone as well in retreat. They managed to get everybody out at least for the side of New Origin. But now they have no control over this river.
Looking at the tools used by Dorado there, though, Mocha without the Maokai ultimate means a lot of teamfight potential is gone.
Andromeda, though, is so low. The Galio never made it back to base. Mocha off on the side here. And the bullet time comes out over the top once again. There's some decent damage, but Valka's the one who's going to go down first. Cherry's on a killing spree. Andromeda forced to retreat once again. The True Shot Barrage gets good damage out on the retreating NOD members. 5v4 on the map now, and it looks like Dorado are making the call to move to Baron.
I'm not sure why Andromeda just never backed, had the TP available to rejoin a potential fight. Instead, it's just another sporadic, you know, let's go in, let's not, what are we doing? Oh no, we're dead kind of fight from No Direction. Really living up to their name.
Oh, dang.
Unfortunately.
Oh, man.
It's just, I mean, all the tools are there, and you can see how the comps that they've drafted both in game 1 and game 2 can really play into what Dorado showed. It's just coming down to an execution issue. Dorado is the more confident team. They're playing like they can win every fight, and they are with that confidence.
Yeah. And there have been some good moments for No Direction, for New Origin, you know, for individual members, you know, individual moments. You know, some people have been able to stand, you know, step up.
Yeah.
Like, I think Cuddle Bear has played most of the fights quite well. Last game had some really clutch moments on the Zeri, even though it wasn't quite enough to get him over the line. And I think, honestly, Rescued has been playing pretty well also on the Renata. The bailout timings have been pretty nice. The hostile takeovers have been good, but it just hasn't really all come together for them.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. They're 1-0 for a reason to this point, but it's really just
Okay, that's a flash
communication.
away for Rescue. The needles come out, and Shiri just absolutely eviscerates him. Valka comes in on the flank here. He is going to try to drop the sword, but he just dies too fast. The Garen just got absolutely cut in half there, and Forrest's going to get killed off as Ezreal Arcane shifts forward. And meanwhile, Alternative is just doing some work in the side lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone from bad to worse for No Direction. Really, once they lost the momentum, lost the control of their own jungle, like I said, it's going to be hard to approach. Yeah.
There goes the misfortune. Galio arrives only to die. And that is probably going to be the game right there. 30 minutes on the game clock, and it is indeed, as Cherry predicted, going to be the 2-0 for Dorado Gaming Shy.
Okay. There's not quite a wave yet, but it doesn't matter.
Only a Renata. And a dream, and it was not enough.
Was not enough. Dorado showing that the game 1 result might have been a fluke. Might have not been. I don't know. I didn't get to see it, but came out firing on all cylinders for this matchup into No Direction. And honestly, if you're No Direction, I think you just sit down after this match, whenever you do VOD review or whenever you get together as a team next, and say, look, we're all good players. We need to trust each other and listen or even make some calls. We have all the tools. We have the mechanical abilities, like you said, some good individual plays. You know, Cuddle Bear looked good in both games. Forest, you know, despite going down so much into Cherry in game 2, was able to claw their way back.
For sure, yeah.
Had good pathing with the Nocturne in game 1. It just, once those 5 good individual players meet up, it's like they are worse than the sum of their parts to this point. But it's early on in the season, so it's definitely a fixable issue for sure.
Yeah. Dorado Gaming, definitely the stronger team tonight, no doubt about it. They played quite well. You know, a couple of moments where it definitely felt like they were playing with their food a little bit. And if, you know, they are looking to repeat and defend their title and make a return to the finals, I'm sure that they are going to be looking to, you know, tighten things up as the season progresses. But, you know, it's still early on in the season, like you said, and I don't think there's really anything wrong with having a little bit of fun out there on the Rift.
That's why we play the game, right?
Oh, what? I mean, you're telling me people have fun playing League of Legends? That can't be real. What are you on about, Righteous? You silly Billy.
Sure. Cherry had fun. Cherry here with us after a pretty convincing 2-0 victory into No Direction. You had messaged Soulkeeper before game 2 even started and said, get me in the interview. We're going to win this series 2-0. What gave you so much confidence heading into that second game?
Generally, spite is one of the greatest motivators that anyone can have. And before tonight, No Direction, I asked them very nicely because I knew we were going to potentially have to FF if we had 3 E-subs because my team couldn't get their games. And I was like, hey, we'll take the 5 ban losses. Do you want to let us play? And they were like, no. So my poor college student support, she had to get 10 games in, queuing at 4 in the morning. That poor girl. And then we just show up and 2-0 them anyway. And so I'd like to formally apologize to No Direction. I didn't realize that you guys would get worked, but now that I've saw it happen, I sort of understand why you guys were a little, you know, not wanting to play us. I understand. I respect it. Better luck next time.
Wow.
That's some confidence. Some confidence.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I mean, forcing your support to subject herself to solo queue at 4 a.m. I mean, it sounds like you definitely did need a little bit of vengeance.
That's hell
there.
on earth. I can speak from experience.
Yeah, not
Do
a
you
good
know?
time. Not a
Do
good
you know what
place
it's
to
like
be.
queuing up with Dio and MMR in at 4 a.m.? She's just like getting whoever is online. She's getting like 900 LP challengers in her games. It's just it's not good game quality. She was not happy with me or with them.
Hmm. So, maybe you could talk to us in a little bit more detail about, your game plan heading in tonight then. Obviously it sounds like support maybe a little bit sleep deprived. But, certainly you clearly, as you already said, really wanted to pick up the win tonight. So what was kind of the general plan heading into this matchup?
Yeah, definitely. Going into the game one, we saw that they had last week played MF and Zeri, and I know that their support is a bit of an enchanter specialist. So we figured that if you would take the MF game one, they'd pick the Zeri. Last time they won against Akuma by playing this like Shen, Jarvan, Galio thing, which pretty much just sits around the Zeri and hope she carries. So our initial plan was to, try and outrange them, try and outpoke them, and then we locked Vi Galio and just did not do any of that, instead opting to just punch this area until she died. And it was a little rough around the edges. I think locking me Vi is probably not the smartest thing a person could do, but we managed to make it work anyway. And then game two, they left Gwen up, so I didn't really pay attention to draft after that, to be honest.
You didn't pay
Right,
attention to the draft for game two, but going into game two, you knew Kindred was opposite of you. You guys were able to pick up that win early, and you never looked back. Was able to kind of follow the Kindred around and make them have a bad time. How experienced are you into playing into the Kindred? Because it looked like you knew where the Kindred was going to be at all times.
Genuinely, every single Kindred player in League of Legends is the same. They either take one camp and then invade you on your second camp, or they take three camps and invade you on your second buff. It is possibly the dumbest thing that I've ever seen. I don't know why Kindred is walking into my blue buff thinking that she could do that. I think the correct phrase is fucked around and found out. But I'm very glad that she did the most obvious thing possible because it made our lives a lot easier. So thank you again for that. Again, my formal apologies, no direction.
I actually thought, Sherry, that Mocha was kind of the goat of that play in particular, just because the reason why Kindred felt like they were going to be able to do that was because their bot lane had priority. It was Cuddle Bear and Rescue that were actually able to move first there, but your bot lane as well was so quick to respond, and it was Mocha who sorted that play out as well, being able to get in range for the W to get lock down that first kill. And I believe you guys, I mean, that was a crazy fight that we had right so early on in the game. You guys immediately got the first feat just from that like initial fight, and like Right just said, you really were just able to snowball from there.
Yeah, definitely. Mocha was able to make the roam happen, even though they were, MF Renata with having the double range advantage over Ezreal Maokai is usually going to have prio, but because we know that they're going to do that, because again, all Kindred players are the same.
Right.
Everyone was very aware of what was going on. Kindred shows up, she shows that she's too far. Mocha just walks up, kills them. I mean, we've played together for a while, and so like emotional regulation of your jungler's mental health is very important. That's me, and so they know that it's better to just fight with me on the play than to just let me bleed, because then I'm gonna get tilted and then we're gonna lose.
Yeah, I mean, talking about knowing your teammates, obviously you guys have been together a while, winning a championship, albeit under a different org banner. Looking at, the way No Direction was handling skirmishes and team fights, the communication didn't seem like it was there. Did it feel that way when you're on the Rift? Did you feel like you could just take every fight and win? Or, I mean, you guys were playing with confidence. What kind of inspired that?
I mean, we haven't played together in a while. After Warden Finals, we sort of just, didn't really play that much for a few months. We didn't really know what we were going to do. Sort of LXC signups dropped up and we were just like, hey, you want to do this again? We haven't really had the time to like scrim that much or prep that much, at least like as we did back in Warden. We're sort of just taking regular season to get used to season 15, get used to things. Ultimately, it did kind of show. I feel like game one, especially, and parts of game two, I felt that I was playing like very, very sloppy. But I think fundamentally, we understand that like role by role, we are better, and in the skirmishes, we trust each other to know that we are going to fight them better. So whenever they want to fight us, we're like, sure, we'll do it, and then we'll make it happen.
Yeah, that's definitely what it looked like to us here on the cast as well. I guess my last question for you here, Cherry, is as already mentioned, defending champions from last season, and you were just kind of discussing how this wasn't really planned too much. You just kind of all decided you might as well join for another season here in the Warden League. So have you really had a chance to sit down and have a conversation as a team about like expectations, goals for this season, anything like that? Is there anything in particular that you're working towards, like as a player, or what are just kind of your general thoughts, looking ahead to the rest of this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think our goal is obviously always going to be to win. I mean, we did it last split. I mean, granted, I think this split is like a lot stronger in terms of the quality of players that we'd be playing against. But I mean, we all have confidence in each other and our ability to make it happen. I think me personally, I just like, even though we won last time, I felt that like there was still a lot of room for improvement for me. Even even now, even this series that was 2-0, I'm like not exactly satisfied. I feel like I made a lot of like very fixable mistakes. And so there's always like something to work towards in that regard. I mean, in terms of like team goals, we want to win. I mean, we're obviously playing to have fun, but I mean, we like each other enough that we survived the split and decided to do it again. So I'm not worried about that.
Great. Righteous, you got anything else?
No, I mean, this is Cherry's floor to shout out anything she would like. You said to be safe for work. I'm gonna hold you
Yeah,
to
of
that,
course.
but
I've had PR training. Don't worry.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd first like to shout out the Dorado Gaming Organization for taking us under their wing and also not making us play weekly required ranked games or fill out any forms or stuff. That was frankly so annoying last split. Um, yeah, again, another shout out to New Origin Direction. Sorry about all of that, just the whole losing thing, and shout out to everyone that watched. Thank you.
Thank you, Cherry, for stopping by for the interview, and congratulations on picking up the 2-0 tonight. Well, Righteous, I guess that's going to do it for our coverage of week 2 here. We had a pretty one-sided affair this evening. I guess, the first game was a little bit longer, I believe. I don't remember exactly how long that first
Yeah,
game went. It's like
got close to 40.
35-ish.
Yeah, got close to
Yeah,
40.
yeah. But definitely a clear winner tonight. What are your kind of closing remarks on this one?
I thought Dorado was favored coming in. I did know they would have no bans, but didn't stop them from securing the 2-0 victory. I think both these teams, like Cherry was talking about, probably walked away from the series thinking they could play a little bit better. No direction, of course. A little bit more issues than Dorado at this point of the season, but I mean, Crewman, how did you like your first week for Warden? Are you excited to be casting these games? What were your initial thoughts?
Oh man, absolutely, absolutely. It was a real treat. I got to see Vi and I got to see Kindred and even a Gwen jungle all in my first cast here in the LXC. I had a great time. I think I couldn't ask for more. Definitely happy to be here. I hope you guys are happy to have me as well.
Of course. I think that's it for me. If that's it for you, I think you can go ahead and close us out.
Sounds good to me, man. From myself, from Righteous here, from everybody at LXC. Thank you, everybody, very, very much for watching. We will see you next week. Monday, I believe, is going to be the next stream, or is it Sunday? Producer, if you want to get in my ear. Monday, same time, same place, for the continuation of season number 2. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Have a great night.